So, in today's lecture, we're going to be discussing Charles Haanel's The Master Key System and how we can, as the theme of this lecture implies, how to use some of the guidance that he provides in the book to create our own reality and to really make our dreams come true. If I could use a term that maybe is a little cliche, but I think is just as relevant, especially for this lecture. So, Hanel says from the book, whatever you desire for yourself, affirm it for others, and it will help you both. We reap what we sow. If we send out thoughts of love and health, they return to us like bread cast upon the waters. But if we send out thoughts of fear, worry, jealousy, anger, hate, etc., we will reap the results in our own lives. So the term reap what we sow, we've heard this term many times before, but I think it's just as relevant today. Whereas, as Earl Nightingale says, we become what we think about. So if we are focused on our undesirable circumstances, negative thoughts and ideas, visualizing the worst case scenario, and living and acting based on the disappointments of the past, it is very difficult to then create a better future and to create a more desirable reality. And when you think about vibration, we hear this term a lot. Bob Proctor used the term vibration very often in describing the power of the subconscious mind and how we are energy. It's not so much that we use energy, but we are energy. And how we utilize our energy and what we tend to focus on can create this negative vibration if we're focused more on negative thoughts. And again, we talk about with relationships, how when you encounter certain people, they can give off perhaps maybe a negative vibe. You can get a sense of that person, especially when they're complaining, or discussing the worst case scenario of specific situations, or talking about all the bad press that's happening in the news right now. You get that negative vibe. But then sometimes you could be at a networking event or a party and someone enters a room and they radiate this positive vibe. You want to be around that person. That person radiates positive energy. They have a positive vibe. And that's all because of the way they think in their mental processes and what they tend to focus on. And they emanate and they really just vibrate these positive vibes because of the way they think. So when we indulge in these negative thoughts and behaviors, it can, as the term says, reap what we sow. We can create our own reality based on what we think about. If we're thinking about negative thoughts and ideas, then that will naturally create the undesirable circumstances. But by thinking more positive outcomes and thinking of new positive horizons, then we can produce better results in our own lives. And we'll dig deeper into that now throughout this lecture. So Haanel says, then comes the processes of visualization. You must see the picture more and more complete. See the detail, and as the details begin to unfold, the ways and means for bringing it into manifestation will develop. One thing will lead to another. Thought will lead to action. Action will develop methods. Methods will develop friends. And friends will bring about circumstances. And finally, the third step, or materialization, will have been accomplished. So we could see how visualization, and when you think about all the great books, such as Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill, The Science of Getting Rich by Wallace D. Wattles, The Power of the Subconscious Mind by Dr. Joseph Murphy, and Psycho-Cybernetics by Maxwell Maltz, visualization is a common theme with many of these books. And with visualization, we can use our mental studio within our own mind to visualize a desirable outcome, to visualize a better, more abundant future, to visualize perhaps how we will perform if we're an athlete or if we're an artist or an actor, to visualize the ideal self, to see how we would like to be on a daily basis, and to see how we would like our life to be, and feeling as if what we want is already in the present moment. Again, Neville Goddard and certainly modern day mystics today like Dr. Joe Dispenza discusses this very often about the importance of living in the present moment and believing and feeling and acting as if what you want is already here now, that your prayers have already been answered. And when you start doing this, it becomes a snowball effect where one thing leads to another, as Haanel says, where one thing will lead to another, thought will lead to action, action will develop methods, methods will develop friends, and friends will bring about circumstances, and so on. So visualization is the foundation for then creating our reality, seeing what it is that we want. We have to know what it is that we want and believe that it is true and believe that it is possible for us to change our circumstances. If we're visualizing worst case scenarios or living and thinking based on the experiences of the past, then we can see then how visualization could be our own worst enemy. And visualization is part of the toolkit of imagination. It is utilizing our imagination to empower us to be the ultimate creators of our lives and our destiny. So then Hanal says, and again, this is very relevant today, learn to keep the door shut. Keep out of your mind, out of your office, and out of your world every element that seeks admittance with no definite, helpful end in view. So as I said in many of my lectures, we are living in a world today when we are bombarded with so much distraction from social media, from the internet, from the 24-hour news cycle, and even from the advice and opinions of others, even from friends and family and people that care about us. We are bombarded with so much information that much of it, is absolutely useless and does very little to help us achieve our own goals. So then we must have a demanding filter. And what that means is we must be very deliberate in what ideas we choose to accept or reject. Because as I said, the subconscious mind does not know the difference between what is real and what is not real. So whatever we impress on the subconscious mind over time can shape our personality and thoughts and behaviors that go underneath our awareness. So if we are to create our own reality, we must create new, more positive behaviors that become second nature to us, where we no longer have to think about what we want because we embody and become that person that brings about these desirable circumstances into our own lives. But that starts then with, as I said, being very deliberate with ideas we choose to accept or reject that comes from our reality. Why is intuition then superior to reason? And this goes to what I'm saying with the subconscious mind. Because it does not depend upon experience or memory and frequently brings about the solution to our problems by methods concerning which we are in entire ignorance. And it reminds me, I think, really of Steve Jobs' quote when he says that it's all about connecting the dots. It's making connections. And there's a term in psychology called combinatory play, where subconsciously we're making connections of different ideas and thoughts and images and sounds that we've impressed in our subconscious that can lead these connections leading to new ideas, where we have this aha moment that this idea seems to come out of nowhere because we're no longer trying to force it. Thus, the importance of intuition. We begin listening to our higher self. We stop worrying so much about what is happening outside of us. So certainly reason is important. This is not to say that reason is not important. We have to use common sense and reason and think objectively. But the problem is that when it comes to accomplishment, when it comes to creating our reality, especially in the beginning of creating the life that we want, there's not going to be much in our environment that is going to validate that what we want is possible. So that is why visualization is so important, holding on to that vision of a better future with such intensity and feeling. As Neville says, feeling as if what we want is already ours. By holding on to that vision without being distracted by our external circumstances, and by tapping into that intuition, our higher mental faculties, we can then move in the direction of where we want to go. Following our gut instinct. That's why meditation is so important, where we sit down, even just for a few minutes, and block out the distractions that remind us of who we are. And through meditation, we focus on who we want to become. And when we do that enough times and we overcome the limitations within ourselves, then we can, over time, overcome the limitations in our external world. And that starts with intuition. So that nature compels us all to move through life. We cannot remain stationary however much we wished. Every right-thinking person wants not merely to move through life like a sound-producing, perambulating plant, but to develop, to improve, and to continue the development mentally to the close of physical life. This development can occur only through the improvement of the quality of individual thought and the ideals, actions, and conditions that arise as a consequence. Hence, a study of the creative process of thought and how to apply them is of supreme importance to each one of us. This knowledge is a means whereby the volition of human life on earth may be hastened and uplifted in the process. Humanity ardently seeks the truth and explores every avenue of it. So, hence a study of the creative processes of thought and how to apply them. This really stands out to me. If we are to change, then it is important. I know Bob Proctor, who really reinforced this, I think, in many of his lectures and his works, is he preached the importance of studying yourself, of studying the greats, of studying personal development and growth. That rather than reading or watching this lecture, for example, just once, you want to listen to it multiple times. Through repetition, we develop new behaviors. And through these new, more positive behaviors, we can change our thought processes. And through these new thought processes and behaviors, we can begin to bring about new outcomes and new, more desirable circumstances. It was Einstein who said that insanity is doing the same thing over and over again, expecting a different result. You cannot expect to change your circumstances by thinking and acting in the same ways that help create them in the first place. If we are then to create a new reality, we must, as Joe Dispenza says, create a new personal reality. And thus we must study our creative process. And this is a very subjective exercise. Every person is different. Every person has unique dreams and goals and thinks and acts in different ways. And every person has unique strengths and abilities. So this is a subjective exercise. Thus, you have to analyze and study what behaviors and thoughts produce specific outcomes. And if you're getting undesirable outcomes, what can you do to change them? What thought processes can you embrace that can bring about new results? And I believe that all starts with focusing on what it is that you want through the power of visualization, through energy, through feeling that what we want is already ours. And when you think of mental models, and it reminds me of Charlie Munger, who obviously Warren Buffett's right-hand man at Berkshire Hathaway, he talks about the importance of mental models. I believe he wrote a book on it, if I'm not mistaken, or there's been many books written about Munger's interpretation of mental models. But we want to develop a mental model, a thought process or system that we can apply that can help us generate new outcomes. Now, this doesn't mean we want to be robotic in nature. It means we want to begin thinking about how we're thinking and start to make an appraisal about ourselves and take stock of what's going right and what's going wrong. And if we see that there's things that aren't going well, we want to be deliberate and make new decisions to change them. And that is, I think, how naturally over time we can develop a new thought process where we can be the ultimate creators of our reality. And that means thinking about the way we think and being willing to change them through the power of self-awareness. You will readily see then that what we think determines the quality of mind, and that the quality of mind in turn determines our ability and mental capacity. And you can readily understand that the improvement in our ability will naturally be followed by increase in attainment and a greater control of circumstances. It will thus be seen that natural laws work in a perfectly natural, harmonious manner. Everything seems to just happen. If you want any evidence of this fact, simply compare results of your efforts in your own life, when your actions were prompted by high ideals and when you had selfish or ulterior motives in mind. You will need no further. And this has happened to me often where I've wanted to accomplish something or achieve an outcome, and I would work very hard and I wouldn't seem to get it. And then all of a sudden, when I stopped trying so hard, that result came forth. A very good example is by obtaining a specific scholarship when I'm getting my master's degree. And I spent a number of years where I was trying to get a scholarship with no luck. But when I stopped trying then, while still focusing on what I wanted to have, I was able to get a scholarship within a short period of time. And that applied to chance occurrences and meetings with unique people, job opportunities, chance occurrences. And this happened without trying to force a desired outcome. And you will see that when you begin to focus and feel as if what you want is yours, you will begin to see things happen in your own life naturally through the natural laws. When you think in a certain way or when you're certain of a desired outcome, nature will take its course and you will naturally achieve that desired outcome without so much strain or trying to force the outcome to occur. It's the path to least resistance, where we get to the heart of the matter of what it is that we want. And we ask ourselves the questions as to why we want that specific goal. Why do we want it? And we come up with the answer. Then we can change course and move in that direction and let the natural laws work out for themselves. So then the principle which gives the thought the dynamic power to correlate with its object and therefore to master every adverse human experience is the law of attraction, which is another name for love. This is an eternal and fundamental principle inherent in all things, in every system of philosophy, in every religion, and every science. There is no getting away from the law of love. It is feeling that imparts vitality to thought. Feeling is desire, and desire is love. Thought impregnated with love becomes invincible. So it's feeling. Feeling the desire, feeling that the wish has already been fulfilled. Embracing love. And when discussing the law of attraction, or how it's discussed in many circles, it's not very often that love is used as a way to define the law of attraction. Law of attraction as a way, at least as a way it's discussed now in many circles, seems very materialistic or very robotic in nature. Where I think that is the best definition of the law of attraction, which is love. The law of love, where you love your life, you love people, you love serving others, you love your circumstances, even if they're not desirable right now. You love your future, and more importantly, you love yourself. And when you begin to love yourself and love the process, with love, then all things are possible. Because with love, then, love is a very powerful emotion. And when we embrace love and feel it and feel our desires, then it is only a matter of time before we embrace or experience personal transformation, where our lives become much more harmonious. We begin to see things happen without as much effort, and our lives become that much better. So then our difficulties are largely due to confused ideas and ignorance of our true interests. The great task is to discover the laws of nature to which we are to adjust ourselves. Clear thinking and moral insight are, therefore, of incalculable value. All processes, even those of thought, rest on solid foundations. The keener the sensibilities, the more acute the judgment. The more delicate the taste, the more refined the moral feelings. The more subtle the intelligence, the loftier the aspiration. The purer and more intense are the gratifications which existence yields. What strikes me is clear thinking and moral insight. We must be clear about what it is that we want to accomplish, what we want out of life, or how we see our ideal selves to be. And what impairs many people to create their own reality is due to confusion, due to distraction, due to self-limiting beliefs that hold us back. And again, in this world that we live in today, it is very easy to become confused because there's so much information that confuses us, that distracts us, that makes us feel like we're victims and that we're powerless. And thus we don't have the ability to live and create the life that we want. But when we become very clear about what it is that we want and why we want it, with a sense of moral insight being love, being in the service of others, where we're not just looking to improve our lives, but the lives of others. Then through this clear thinking, as Maxwell Maltz says in his book, Psycho-Cybernetics, we begin like we're a radar-guided missile. We begin to hone in on what it is that we want because we're very clear about the objective we wish to accomplish or to have. And when you combine that with feeling as if what we want is already in the present moment, by living in the present moment, then that's when we're the ultimate creators. And that's when we get into a sense of flow, where life it's not as much of a struggle anymore. We're not trying so hard because we're not so much concerned about the future or living in the past. We're in the present moment where we're thoroughly enjoying what it is that we're doing. And we don't experience these flow states when we're resting, but when we are doing something that fulfills us, where we take action, where we take some risks, and we're willing to become more than what we are now. And by doing so, by entering these states of flow, it's through these mindsets where things begin to happen when we're in the zone, when the mind and body are one. Again, there's a lot of physiological processes involved in flow, where all these feel-good chemicals are released into the body, where we feel invincible or godlike in a way. And when we get into these states more often, I believe we tap into something within ourselves, but also this intelligence. Again, how we define God, whether it's God, intelligence, the universe, natural law, whatever you want to call it, if we use these forces that are unseen but are there, and we use them to our advantage, then we become the ultimate creators and we can live our best life now. So I hope you really enjoyed this video. Thank you so much for watching, and make sure you hit that subscribe button where you can watch all my lectures on personal growth, creativity, wealth building, and entrepreneurship. Thank you so much, and I'll see you next time.